And hello again from WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Josh Manning, Deputy Managing Editor for Assignment. Joining me today, on my left, Michael Austin, Supervising Writer, and on my right, Tara Snyder, who is an intern but is soon to graduate to full-time status. We're excited about that. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here today. We've got three pretty solid topics, I think, to discuss with you. Michael's going to lead things off talking about an Olympic weightlifter who is a transgender person, biologically male, and then began to compete on the female side. What happened there? We're going to be talking with Tara about a school board meeting that went awry, if you can call it that, when angry parents began to read out the sexually explicit material that was available to their students in the high school. And then we will also be talking about anti-COVID helicopters in the air, soldiers being deployed to enforce lockdowns. The summer of COVID #2 is here, and we'll be telling you about that. But first off, Michael, let's talk about the Olympics. Let's talk about weightlifting and the transgender agenda.
Yes, and so a big story going into the Olympics was New Zealand's Laurel Hubbard. So he is a transgender woman. So a man that identifies as a woman.
Got it.
He took the place of a woman on the women's Olympic
because if he's there, a woman can't be there.
Exactly. Can't be. And so everyone was, going, oh, great, we're going to have a man in the weightlifting competition. He's just going to dominate everybody. But that was not the case, as it turns out. Good old Laurel had some trouble lifting the bar once he got into the competition. He was actually the only competitor not to be able to get one lift in.
So increased bone density, increased muscle density, thanks to testosterone for years.
Yes, and we have a video of his attempt, and we're gonna pull that up for you guys right now.
This is a must lift.
Oh no! Oh no!
What a shame! What a shame!
Oh no!
Well, that will be the end of Laurel Hubbard's competition.
Now, a lot of people on the right are celebrating this as, oh, look at that. It turns out he won't be taking the spot of a woman after all. He may have taken one opportunity away from a woman to get in, but he's not going to be eliminating anybody going forward. But, as it turns out, this is not quite the win for us that we may think it would be. And many on the left are just using this example as proof that men have no inherent physical advantages over women. And the ACLU, they've pushed this idea before. In a tweet a really long time ago, we're not going to pull it up for you guys, I'm just going to read it. A few months ago, the ACLU said, trans athletes vary in athletic ability just like cisgender athletes. In many states, the very same cis girls who have claimed that trans athletes have an unfair advantage have consistently performed as well as or better than transgender competitors. So the argument that people are making from Laurel Hubbard's performance and from the performance of trans athletes in general is that, oh, look at this. They're not dominating all the time. Sometimes they lose. That means...
Unless you just have a really crappy athlete in general. Sorry.
And that's getting to the point is that, our sample size isn't very big. We have seen plenty of examples of trans athletes dominating sports, but just because some trans athletes are really bad does not mean men don't have a physical advantage. That's like pointing out a WNBA player and saying, oh, look, women are taller than men because this one 6'7" woman is taller than the average man. It's like, no, that's not how statistics work. That's not how reality works. And what do you guys think of all this? It is so obvious to me. We know scientifically men have greater bone density. They have larger hearts, larger lungs. This makes it easier for them to run longer distances.
Denser muscle mass.
They're bigger in general. We got bigger fists. We're taller. We're heavier. Testosterone plays a large part in all of this. What do you guys think about, they're going to use this as an example of, oh, hey, now we can let them all in because we know they're not going to just dominate women's sports like all you conservatives are claiming.
Tara, I'd like you to respond to that first, and then afterward we will settle this on air by you two arm wrestling.
Yeah, I think I'd go down pretty fast. I do think that there is something to be said about the logic of the left. When you look at men's sports, if I suddenly were to decide that I were a man and went and joined men's cycling, I would never dominate in the way that a man would in women's cycling. And that's the main issue that we're talking about, because we're never concerned about men's sports. We're only concerned about women's sports. No one can point to me an example of a woman dominating men's.
Yes, excellent.
And it's really sad because as an athlete, I played soccer for 15 years. If I, as a goalie, I played goalkeeper, if someone were to come up to me charging me like 6'5" man in the Olympics, that would be life-threatening. That would be really, really bad, because even if you look at like how tall men are and how short women are, it's like even if I stood next to Michael, you can't tell because we're sitting at this table, but Michael's got like a foot on me.
No, you can tell.
Maybe, yeah.
You can tell.
So, yeah, I think it's really sad, and it's a very obvious discrepancy that the left just doesn't want to acknowledge.
And one fact of this is that, like, we're comparing a bunch of 20-year-olds, you know, the women who are in this competition, they tend to be in their 20s. One woman that was pushed out because of Laurel was 18 years old. She was getting ready to compete. He's 43 years old. And he's competing with all these young people. So
what an embarrassment.
Yeah.
What a disgrace.
Yeah.
That's the word for this, a disgrace.
And I probably would get canceled for pointing this out. But if you looked at that video we just showed you, you can clearly see that he's not physically fit.
Yeah.
Like, he's overweight. He's not buff. Like, these other girls, you know.
Weightlifters can have a bit more, like, they can be a bit thicker, but not like that.
He's not.
I was thinking that same thing, but I thought maybe I don't know much about weightlifting. As you at home can tell, I don't spend very much time lifting weights. I was thinking, no, maybe they're all ridiculous looking, like Laurel.
They're certainly thicker and more
Yeah,
stouter.
yeah, you can
stouter
definitely-
Yeah, but that
Thicker.
guy looked like he was fighting his own weight.
Yes, yeah. There's a difference between being buff and like bigger and just not having any like muscle at all. And I'm sorry, he doesn't have muscle that these other women had because he couldn't complete a single lift.
But the big point that I want people to take out of this is just this one thing. If you take a man and a woman that are both, you know, they're not going to be dominating their sports, though they're both a little athletically diminished.
Average. They're in the middle of the curve. I think that's
Both in the middle of the curve. And they put in the same amount of work into their sport, the man will always get out ahead of the woman. So what's happening here with Laurel, okay, so he's not getting first place. He's not sweeping up all the prizes. But with less work and less effort, he's taking the place of a woman that undeniably had to work harder to get where
Exactly.
she is.
Oh, that's good.
So even if he's not dominating,
point.
he is taking the place of a woman.
So the question then is, where are the feminists? Where are the feminists? This
they're
cannot
canceled.
be the world that they supposedly fought for. This can't be the world where, you know, for years they said, look, we want women to be treated equally. We want them to be treated equally. We want them to have an equal shot.
Yes.
And now they are finding, you know, wolves in their midst. Taking opportunities away from them, and feminists are having a hard time. Institutional feminism seems to be having a hard time addressing this. Now, there are some feminists who have come out and said, "Look, this is not right." But as far as the feminism that you find in academe, I don't know if I've heard one person say, "Oh, hey, hang on, this is not fair to women." Why is that?
Well, because, you know, third wave feminism and, you know, everything after the first wave, everything after the we deserve an equal opportunity to men, every wave of feminism that came after that was just a farce and a lie and the worst thing that could have ever happened to women. But
That was hijacked by ideology.
the reason, to answer your question, the reason for that is, you know, modern day feminism tells women that the best possible version of yourself is to make yourself like a man. So women, as they are now, are second-rate men. That's what feminism teaches. For example, you know, telling women you should not want to stay home and raise children. You should want to go out and get a career.
Yeah.
If you want to pause your career for a few years, raise some children, come back to it, that's not good. You should want to be just as ambitious as a man in every sense of the word. That's what feminists want for women. They don't want women to go after female priorities, which, you know, every woman should have the opportunity and the ability to have a career, and for many of them that's the best choice for them, which is fantastic. But there are also a large group of women who would prefer to spend a lot of their time at home, prefer to work from home or have a part-time job, and those women are told that they are less womanly if they're not acting like a man.
Yeah, we hear people all the time, oh, we need more female engineers, we need more female mathematicians. That's fine if women want to go in that direction, but it doesn't seem that they actually want to. Tara, is it possible that, just very quickly here, is it possible that there are just certain things women like that men don't like?
Yeah, you might be able to answer this better than the two of us.
Here's the thing, and this is the thing that's on the left is just so funny when you actually think about it. No one on the conservative side is going, oh, you know what? I think I identify with more feminine traits and male traits. It's these people on the left who are hyper-focused on what is perceived as feminine traits and male traits and being, well, you must be transgender. I would have been screwed as a child if my parents had believed that, because I played with trucks, I was in the sandbox, I was out, I was a tomboy. If I had radical leftist parents who are like, oh, those are traditionally men's characteristics, I'm not sure what could have happened.
Toast.
Yeah.
You'd be toast.
But,
all right.
And yeah, just to put a pin on it, the ultimate woman to feminism is a man who acts like a woman. And so this Laurel Hubbard is the ultimate woman to feminists.
Well, and I think we all need a world full of women that are like Laurel. All right, so let's transition. We were talking about the Olympics. We were talking about weightlifting. This is about as far on the other side of that as possible, but it's still related somewhat to sex. We are shifting gears now. Tara, tell us about this school board meeting that really went kind of nuts.
Yes. So I came across this on Facebook, and at the time, the video only had 600 views, but someone I follow had mentioned, hey, you should really check this out. So I actually sat through the entire thing, and I felt disgusting by the end of it. And I messaged it to Josh and Michael and said, hey, we need to cover this because this is the kind of stuff that's in schools. And so this story ultimately has two parts to it. First is that there's these transgender books in kindergarten classrooms. And the second part is that there's these very sexually explicit books being published to middle schooler and high schooler students, even books describing sexual assault. So first, just starting off with the trans books. The first clip that we're going to show you is parents reading these books to kindergartners. So these books are in elementary school libraries, and actually here I have it printed off on Amazon. These are marketed to kids as young as 3, and that's what the author writes in them. So that's what many of these books are.
And these clips are from a school board meeting where the parents were like reading the books to the school board to say, oh, how dare you teach these, have these things available in the school library to our children. Yeah,
it's verbatim. They have the books open right there reading it. So if we can pull up that clip, that'd be great.
Finally, call me Max. Max is a transgender kindergartner who is assigned as a girl at birth, but feels that her parents are mistaken about who she really is. Fortunately for her, her teacher understands her parents' confusion and affirms her true gender by calling her by the name that she has chosen, not by the name that she has been given. This is also available at Collegewood Elementary. These books and others like them promote the goals of the UN and Planned Parenthood, which include the promotion of gender confusion, the normalization and promotion of same-sex behavior, the suggestion that traditional family values promote hatred, teaching that gender roles are not innate or natural but are learned, the suggestion that teachers and not parents know better when it comes to sexual preference and gender identification.
If a brand new baby could talk, sometimes that baby might say, "No, I'm not." When a baby grows up to be transgender, it means that the grown-up who said they were a boy or a girl made a mistake. That would be the parents or the doctor.
So these are books being pushed out to young children, and it's really disturbing.
Yeah.
I just don't think kids could process that. What do you think?
Well, I like the response from the audience. If you were listening, you could hear them gasp, and that's not the last gasp from them you're going to hear. We're going to run some more video here in a minute that is as disturbing, if not more so. The lady who said, "Look, this is essentially pushing the left's agenda on gender confusion and supporting sort of a UN ideology on it." Yeah, I think that's correct. All this is doing, if you ask a baby what he is, He's going to tell you he's an elm tree or a kitty cat or whatever. It's absurd. These are books. These have got to be books that have been written by people who don't have children.
And, Abigail Schreier and sex researcher Deborah So and a lot of these other experts, they've documented what they call early onset gender dysphoria, which is a huge thing sweeping across, the U.S. right now. And basically, it's kids at younger and younger ages are feeling like they're transgender. And the reason for this is because they're being indoctrinated with evil books like this that tell them if you don't feel quite right in your body, that means that you're the wrong gender. And of course, kids at that age developmentally do not feel right in their body. And a lot of times, there are girls that are tomboys and they're going to grow up to be completely normal women, except they have a few more male interests than the typical woman. Yeah. And those girls are being told, no, you're a man. And they're going to destroy their reproductive systems. They're going to have all of these, procedures done to them. And it's going to be too late to change course by the time it's all done.
What's our next video?
And this continues. So the next video that we're going to be showing you guys is a video of a book in a middle school. It's called It's Perfectly Normal. And it's perfectly normal to think that this isn't normal because this book talks to 11-year-old children about masturbation, how-tos on masturbation, oral sex, and different sex positions because every 11-year-old in America needs to know that.
Oral sex means touching someone's genitals with your mouth. Some people choose to have oral sex because it's not really sex. But make no mistake, it can put you and partner at risk for STDs. Then we have
your partner, your 11-year-old partner.
A little bit of, a glossary about low blue doggy style and dry in case our children need to know that.
So yeah, that's absolutely disgusting.
11-year-olds.
11-year-olds.
Wow.
And I should note that none of these books need a parental consent form at all. So I'm not sure how you'd feel about your children bringing this home to you, Josh.
I'm sure how I'd feel about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy. I
And
I didn't even know what any of those things were until I was at least in middle school.
Yeah. And it actually gets much worse and much more dark. The next clip we're about to show you is probably the worst one. They're all horrible, but this clip actually describes sexual assault and sexual assault of a young girl who's 14 with her 15-year-old boyfriend. And this takes place on a second date. So this is what your child is supposed to expect on a second date. And the book is titled Crank, which is a euphemism for meth. So we can pull up that third clip.
Baby, I want you so bad. My shirt tore open. Wait. I've waited for weeks. Put up and shut up. Kisses segued into bites, bruises, pain ripped through my body. Brendan, please stop. No, you promised, you little tease. Off came my shorts. Down went his zipper. I realized I was in serious trouble. Still, as I opened my mouth, his hand slapped down over it. Just relax. You'll love it. My brand new Victoria's Secrets shredded. And I felt Brendan pause, savoring my terror. They all love it. I fought with an audible tear. Pain mushroomed into agony, and all I could do was go stiff. You weren't lying, you I lay there, sobbing, as he worked and sweated over me. Stoked by the crank, it took him a long time to finish. Well, give me a line, baby, I'll give you an encore. He pulled away, sticky and bloody.
So that's absolutely disgusting.
Sticky and bloody.
But all this really feeds it. The left has called us crazy for so long for saying that their ultimate goal is to sexualize children. But that's what this is. That's where
all this is.
They've been headed there for so long, and it's been so obvious that that's what they want to do. And the most recent examples we've seen are the drag queen story hours and all this at libraries,
Truly
at schools,
demonic
even at
appearing.
a church. There was a story of that. So yeah, this is just the progression of that because they want to, if they can get their agenda into people as young as possible, then they know once those seeds are planted, then we have our SJW warriors for the rest of their lives.
years ago, I was watching Milton Friedman giving a discussion probably about 40 years ago, and he accused one of the welfare workers who was there of wanting equal outcomes, not equal opportunity, equal outcomes. Oh no, we don't want equal outcomes. We would never argue for that. That was 30 or 40 years ago, and now that is the only argument taking place. Believe me, folks, when we tell you where the left is heading, and their response is, "Oh, you're crazy. We would never want to do that." That's where we're headed. Just quickly, Tara, as a female, somebody who's probably going to be a mom one day, how does this strike your 11-year-old is going to school, and this is what your 11-year-old runs into?
Yeah, even if it were a young teenager, I would be absolutely ashamed and mortified that this could be like one of my child's like first experiences or even chances at understanding sex. If your kid is reading about rape at school and suddenly this book is in classrooms and I didn't get to see what it was about, that's not a controversial book like To Kill a Mockingbird or 1984 or one of those quote unquote controversial books. This is disgusting and it's abhorrent and people shouldn't be accepting of it right, left, or center.
And there's no redeeming value to these things. It's perfectly fine to say that there are books that are not suitable for younger kids because they deal with ideas that the younger kids can't process. I totally get that. That's not what these are.
Yeah.
These are books that are designed to indoctrinate people.
And it's easy to dismiss us as conspiratorial for saying that like the left like really wants kids to be reading about these things they really want to do. But, you know, if we were getting to the mind of a leftist and like why they want to do this, you know, sex to them is freedom. Sex is this expression that you should be able to use in whatever way you want. And they want to get those ideas. They believe the kids that aren't taught those things are oppressed, that they will be sexually repressed throughout their adulthood, and that they are essentially freeing them by teaching them these ideas early on. So they think they're doing the right thing by pushing these things on kids as young as possible.
Anything that looks remotely like a biblical worldview concerning sex is repressive, wrong, and will hurt them. And that is the enemy talking. That's all that is. All right. Next up, so we've talked about Olympic weightlifters. We have talked about a horrible school board meeting. I couldn't think of the term. I was so horrified. I was continuing to be horrified. Sorry. Now we're going to go down under, and we're going to talk about something that's happening in Australia right now. We have truly remarkable video. The fight against COVID, or the fear-mongering for COVID, however you want to look at it, has reached truly an epic new high, again, or low, depending on how you want to think of it, in Australia. Check out this video. What the f***? Now, if you couldn't make that out, first off, it was spoken in a foreign language, Australian. Secondly, it was hard to understand in general. But what it was a police helicopter, an Australian police helicopter, reminding people about COVID regulations and telling them to socially distance, to get indoors, to stay isolated. Now, I had thought we might have some hope with Australia. You know, Australia has been reforming a little bit. Conservatives are kind of getting a foothold back there again. They don't seem to be buying the green bill of goods that's been sold everywhere else. Yeah. I was excited, but if you check out a story by Taylor Pinley, one of Western Journal's writers, you will find that is not exactly the case. Beachgoers at Gordon's Bay near Sydney were caught by surprise recently when a police helicopter flew overhead, blaring its sirens and issuing a warning to everyone to go home or be fined for breaking stay-at-home lockdown restrictions, according to an Australian news outlet. Video of the incident went viral on TikTok Sunday. Now, what do you guys think? What would you think if you walked outside here in Arizona? We're in Phoenix. You walked outside and there were a Maricopa County Sheriff's helicopter, what we call the ghetto bird. If it were flying over telling us to go inside because of COVID, what would your first thought be?
I think my first thought would be that I was dreaming and that I'd probably be watching a horror film. If I couldn't hear audibly what they were saying, I would be wondering, oh, I wonder what bank got robbed or something like that, you know, something violent. Not that, you know what, you might get the sniffles and it might be kind of a pain for a few days.
I mean, to me, that just seems like the natural progression of everything we've already seen. I would not be surprised whatsoever. Yeah, shocking stuff. But in 2021, there are a few things I can see the government do that I'm going to be shocked by anymore.
So if that's not shocking enough, Australia has gone on and said that they are going to deploy up to 300 unarmed, thank God, 300 unarmed military officials. They're going to work in conjunction with Aussie police in their door-to-door, where have we heard that before, door-to-door effort to ensure that residents who have tested positive for COVID-19 are staying at home. Do we have the clip of where we've heard door-to-door previously? I know we talked about that. Maybe we don't have that clip. But that's what Jen Psaki was talking about just a couple weeks ago. And of course, the news cycle moves so fast, everyone forgot about it afterward. But she talked about going, the Biden administration going door to door to deal with COVID. Guys, this just doesn't sound like something that happens in a liberal democracy to me. This is what I picture happening in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
This is what I picture happening in a communist regime.
Well, I think from the theme of today, like the entire idea of the left is that you don't know facts, you don't know what you're talking about. The state knows what's better for your children, and that's been continued time and time again. I don't have the clip pulled up, but I even saw on TikTok people going door to door, and they were dressed up as COVID-19, like the actual pathogen virus, and a syringe. I think I would
Good Lord.
I would be, because I'd be like, isn't Halloween like 3 months away?
Well, that's part of the of the door to door effort that the government's putting on, is they're putting people in costumes and stuff. So that is.
And that's the thing. It's like, why do you think that adults, rational people, are going to trust you when you show up like some whack Chuck E. Cheese going, oh, can we inject you with this? I'm sorry, but it would make your credibility go way down already.
So was it you who was telling me about going to Walmart recently?
I don't think so.
No, it was somebody else in the newsroom. I can't remember who it was. She went. Oh, it was Cass.
Oh, yes.
She went to Walmart, and at least here in North Phoenix, Walmart is pushing masks again. She said the guy was almost following her, trying to shove it into her hand to get her to wear it. And I did a little bit of research before we went on the air. And the best counterexample for all of this is, as you guys may know, is Sweden. Sweden didn't lock down. They didn't have mask mandates. Starting on July, it was either the 1st or the 10th, they did start limiting how many people could gather in a certain amount of space. But it's nothing draconian. It's not something that would shut down businesses. It wouldn't be good for businesses, but it wouldn't shut them down like what we did in the States. And I went over I looked at Johns Hopkins tracking information. Folks, Sweden has beaten us almost every step of the way on COVID.
Yeah.
They have had fewer deaths proportionately. Of course, they've had fewer deaths, country 10 million people, but proportionately they've had fewer deaths. And you know what? The vast majority of the time, they've lagged behind us in vaccination doses at all, but also in completed vaccinations. They still lag behind us in completed vaccinations. And if you look at the line chart, it tracks exactly the same for the U.S. and Sweden. They never locked down. They never did anything stupid. They handled it with common sense, didn't freak out, and Sweden is in far better shape than we are.
Probably literally too. I mean, America is like the #1 most obese nation, and we have all of these underlying health issues. And if it were really about saving lives, we'd be addressing these preventable health issues, but it's not. It's about control.
Well, exactly, and that's the next thing. If they can regulate what you put in your body, then they're not only going to make you put things in your body you don't want, they're also going to keep you from putting things in there that you do want. Sugar will be the next thing. We've seen what they've done to cigarette smoking. Sugar will be the next thing that they go after. And by gosh, if you do it, that is my drug of choice. If you go after sugar.
Well, and that's just, it should be obvious to everyone at this point, because we know deaths are down to as low as they could possibly be.
Yeah, last week was the lowest.
Alzheimer's deaths are higher, flu deaths are higher, all these other, I think car accidents. There's just all these crazy ones that more people are dying of than coronavirus, and yet the panic is still just as big as ever.
Even the Biden White House is angry at the panicked coverage of coronavirus. What do you make of that?
Well, of course they're going to be panicked, because when you see a headline from Washington, D.C. that says, wow, in Washington, D.C., corona deaths doubled in 1 week. It's like, oh, wow, did it go from 1 person to 2? I mean, when you headline things like that and don't actually look at the hard data, it's really easy to scare people if people are just looking at the headlines.
So there's a genie out of the bottle that the Obama administration can't get back in.
Yeah, and the White House and the left, they or the Biden administration and the left, they were all very happy to use coronavirus as a way to destroy Trump's impeccable record. And now they're starting to see, oh crap, now
the monster they created.
The monster we've created is going to start to eat our own. So yeah.
That's how it goes.
That's right. That's how it goes. You weaponize things like this, and that's what happens. All right, folks, that's it for us on this Monday. Thanks for kicking off your week with us. We appreciate it. We are here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button. After you click it, a little bell will pop up. Click that bell. That's going to make sure you know when we go live. In addition to that, thank you for checking us out at westernjournal.com. We appreciate your reading our content. What we do is not cheap. We're not funded by any billionaires. We don't have any big corporations behind us. We're a family-owned company. So just by checking out our stories, you're helping us. If you feel led to help us a little more directly, you can go to westernjournal.com/join. That's westernjournal.com/join. There's several ways there you can partner with us to help produce reporting that gets the truth out, and then to distribute that truth to millions and millions of Americans who are desperately in need of encouragement and who need to be armed with the truth as we carry forward our war, really to save America. Thank you for joining us here. For Tara, for Michael, for everybody in the booth, I'm Josh Manning. I think that's my last name. We're going to see you next time.
Josh, did you hear? They're putting the Libertarian back on the podcast.
No.
Oh? You didn't see the calendar?
No.
You should talk to Kayla about that.
Yeah. Okay. So, who's on the show Tuesday?
You and Joe.
Yeah. Like he's back.
Yeah, no. You and Joe.
The Libertarian?
Yeah, Libertarian Joe.
He's not back.
You should just go in the studio and check it out.
You're messing with me.
Okay.
Okay. Nice joke, Kayla. Come here to go to the studio.
Oh.
No!